Well, good morning and welcome to another Wine Steward video. It's been quite a week of events. Well, it is a week of events in that we've already had two and we get one more on Sunday. Love doing these. Some of them are open to all of you. Anybody who RSVPs first, the first 28 people to RSVP attended last night's Washington State event. We all had a nice time and 13 delicious wines from the Northwest. That was good. The night before, many of you joined us, even more. 63 of you were with us, but not here, over next door at Andy and Hughes. And we had a 5-course dinner as created by Andy, along with, I think 9 wines that we got to describe briefly that you really enjoyed, along with that Asian fare. And I think you were surprised by how many different kinds of wines of the world can work with Asian food. Who knew? Now 63 of you do. Well, here we are, anticipating yet another event. This one is a private one. Yes, if you spend enough money on it, you can have our mezzanine. You can have me, you can have us, you can have our bread and great cheese, and of course, a wine presentation. And that's gonna happen for a very, very devoted group of Rotary Club friends. They do this with us every year. They make it worth our while, and we make it worth theirs. By closing down the mezzanine at about 3 o'clock this Sunday. So be warned, if you're a wine bar devotee and you come on Sunday afternoons, we will be shutting it down at about 3 o'clock. Sorry to you, and got to thank this Rotary Club though for making it worth our while. And we're going to give them a beautiful presentation of wines. I'm still thinking about what the list is going to be entirely comprised of, but I've got a couple of ideas already. Maybe we'll do this, maybe not. Actually, I don't think they're gonna be as into this wine as some others I want to show them. But I do want to tell you about this. This is an old friend, finally returned. We haven't carried Domaine de Bernardin Baume de Venise Rouge in probably 3 or 4 years. I've been missing this old friend of mine. In the meantime, they've changed the label a little bit. It's still traditional looking, but man, it used to look really cool. Ancient and parchmenty, if you will. A little bit like our Domaine de Plus de Vie label. You might say that their old label was an inspiration for the house wine that we make. That, by the way, we are going to bottle on March 27th, and we should see on the floor about 2 months thence. Let's get back to this. Actually, referring to Plus de Vie, our house wine, is appropriate because this reminds me a lot of it, or certain vintages of that PDV, as we call it. This Domaine de Bernardin comes from the village of Baume de Venise. Yes, that's the name of a place. That place is right next to a place you may be a little more familiar with. We're in the southern Rhone, by the way. Right next door is the village of Vacqueyras. Right next door to that, the village of Gigondas. And then you have Sablé, and then you have Séguret. This whole chain of villages and their respective vineyard appellations. They're adjacent, like I said, and they all abut the Dentelle de Montmirail, that geological formation that you can see from miles away in the southern Rhone. Pretty cool hump of rocks there. These vines are, well, I should say these vineyards are mainly, or at least primarily, comprised of Grenache and Syrah and Mourvedre. That's the big thing here, the GSM blend. What's really interesting about this particular wine from Domaine de Bernardin is it is 10% white grapes. It has, I believe, 6% Marsanne and 5% Grenache Blanc added. So what you end up with is a red that's not as deep and dark, and I don't know if it's because of the white addition or not, but this wine never tries to be as dense and rich as maybe a Rhone from right next door. These guys make a wine that's more balanced, almost Pinot Noir-like, fragrant, even like a Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. I get qualities of that. The forest floor, maybe moldering leaves, if you know what the word moldering means. I'll just say like compost, not stinky compost, but when compost is active, it doesn't stink. Have you ever noticed that? Doesn't anybody out there compost? You know what decay and life at the same time happening simultaneously can smell like in your hands when you're working with your active and not stinky compost pile. I know I'm not really making this wine sound that great. So let's talk about fruit. It has that too. And flowers and plenty of spice. And I'm so glad to see this wine roll in. We're gonna give it to our world-class wine club, but I ordered much more than we need for that club because a lot of you are gonna recognize this name. A lot of you who've been to the Wine Steward in years past and recognize the name Domaine de Bernardin, you'll say, yeah, the label's a little different, and yes it is. But as soon as you smell it, it will take you back. It is taking me back. I am very nostalgic about this wine. I've gotten to visit the producer itself a couple of times in this beautiful place called Baume de Venise. And just smelling it takes me back there. Charming, middleweight. While other 2023 Southern Rhone reds are more dense and kirsty, this doesn't try to be. It's super fragrant, elegant, almost crisp and crunchy on the palate. Really delicious. This is going on the shelf today. Come and get it, all right? This may inspire our next Rhone event, by the way, because we've amassed a few new Rhones down there, and I was thinking March doesn't really have anything scheduled yet, so maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now, we'll do our Chateauneuf de Pape and Rhone event, the late spring or late winter, early spring version. How about that? Come and get that Rhone wine in the meantime. It's delicious. Let us now tell you about what I might be pouring, I'm pretty sure I will be, for that Rotary Club this coming Sunday. And you all have access to these wines too. Why would I be telling you about them anyway? Otherwise, I think the theme this time will be doubles or pairs of wine. 2 wines that have something to do with each other. So this Rotary Club has long enjoyed a relationship with Stoltman Vineyards down in Santa Barbara County. I'm having a Rhone burp, sorry. Stoltman Vineyards is in Ballard Canyon in Santa Barbara County, and it's a beautiful place. Most people don't get to see the actual vineyard because Santa Barbara County doesn't let you necessarily have a tasting room out at your place. So there's so many downtown tasting rooms in this particular wine region. So in the town of Los Olivos, you can visit the charming tasting room of Stoltman there, and maybe Pete will drive you out to his vineyard and give you an impromptu tasting at a picnic table right in the middle of the vines. I've got to do that, so maybe that can happen. Anyway, to Stoltman, we're going to show 2 Stoltmans. One will be a rare quality California Sangiovese. We don't have a lot of success with this grape yet, and I always say yet because I'm always hopeful that we will conquer Sangiovese along with a few other grapes that, yes, we grow, but we don't necessarily haven't mastered them yet. Anyway, Stoltman's always made a very beautiful fruit-forward Sangiovese. It doesn't try to be like Chianti or Brunello di Montalcino. It's a little more happy than that, you could say. And we're gonna show that along with Stoltman's best effort yet with their Estate Syrah. I'm saying it, I believe it. This Estate Syrah with a really cool new label, kind of like a new old label, right? Depicting the vineyard, is my favorite Estate Syrah from them yet. I've always loved the wine. It's always had beautiful like blue and black fruit, but this year it finally references the Northern Rhone as well. It's got that cool weather mystique going on. So having that along with the Stoltman Sangiovese will be one pair of wines that the Rotary Club will hopefully enjoy, and if they don't, they can leave. Another pair of wines, how about 2 wines from Italy, and yet 2 very different looks at Italy. One wine that we just got in, and I think I might have talked about it last week, but this is certainly going to be shown to them. This is a 2017, therefore 9-year-old, 100% Sangiovese from the region of Montecucco. Montecucco is north of Morigliano di Scansano and just south of better known Montalcino. Brunello di Montalcino is made there. This is another Sangiovese place in Tuscany, and it is lovely. It is soft and calm based on the aging, based on the fact that every Montecucco Sangiovese that I've ever had is more affable than, let's say, a Chianti. That'll be a little more assertive with its acidity. This is softer, rounder, cheerful, and it'll be a lovely wine to show people in a slightly aged form. And then right next to it will happen something much younger that some of you have already had because we showed it at our recent events with Nico when we did Italy up here. But I know that the club is going to love this stuff because those Rotarians, they love fruit. And that happens here in this Ninfa Sibilla by the producer Velenosi. We're visiting here the Marche region, which isn't as talked about necessarily as Tuscany. We've gone over the Apennines or Apennine Mountains and come down to the Marche, which lies on the Adriatic Sea, the Adriatic part of the Mediterranean. This is going to be made of the signature grape of the area, Montepulciano, fun to say, and adds to that Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, and a little bit of Syrah. Montepulciano always gives you beautiful dark color, dark fruit, and some significant like walnut tannins, I would say. Those are rounded out by the additions of those other grapes. I think the Merlot and the Syrah especially help soften that. You get this really almost jubilantly fruited wine from a younger vintage. I think it's a 21. And so here, fruit that's progressing to savory, and that'll be a fun pairing from Italy for our favorite Rotary Club. How about that? Let's just tell you about two more wines. Let's tell you about something that was really enjoyed at the Andy and Hughes event the other night, and now this is going to the floor. We haven't had Torbrek on our shelves in a while. What's the matter with us? Aren't we a good wine shop? Well, these are interesting times for the wine industry, and sometimes we don't even have access to the likes of this, our favorite wine producer of Australia. Australia kind of like tanked a few years ago, maybe a couple of decades ago. They tried too hard to make wines that were too big, too jammy, and too cheap. And I think a lot of people just moved on from Australian wine because they thought that that's all Australian wine was. And Torbrek is something that we've always come back to prove otherwise. We love this producer so much that when there's enough Torbrek in town, in the form of different bottlings, we will have a Torbrek event, and we have one scheduled for April. As long as they have a good 9 or 10 Torbrek wines in stock, we will have our next long-awaited Torbrek event, long-awaited by those who know this brand and haven't seen us feature it in a very long time. In the meantime, this is available. This is called the Steeding, and that's how you say it, not the Stedding. It's a Scottish term. The founder of Torbrek, Dave Powell, was a lumberjack in Scotland before he headed to Australia to make beautiful wines at the place that he owned for a while called Torbrek. This blend called the Steeding is a GSM, Grenache Syrah Mourvèdre, and it is not over the top. It's not under the top, if that's the term. It's medium but fully ripe, beautiful, elegant, and that's what Torbrek is. It is not the eucalyptusy, over the top, over jammy, over alcoholic Australian style. This is not alternative necessarily to that. It's just like backing off a little bit so you can actually drink the wine. That's the Torbrek way. This is on the shelf, the Steeding by Torbrek, GSM. Boom. One more wine to tell you about to remind you that every week we have a new wine bar menu, and this is on it. This was also on that menu over at Andy and Hughes, the 5-course dinner the other night. Course number 1, the honey walnut prawn salad, along with a seared scallop, or what did Andy do with that scallop? Anyway, it was delicious. Along with that, we had this Terras Gauda. I told you about this wine before, but it's so delicious and so many people loved it then that it's on the wine bar, and it's worth telling you about one more time. This comes from Rías Baixas in Galicia, Spain. Rías Baixas is right on the Atlantic Ocean. That region is actually comprised of 5 subregions, and this comes from the region of O Rosal, which is on the Minho River. The Minho River is actually sometimes the border between Spain and Portugal to the south. If they were growing this on the other side of the river, they would spell the name of the main grape Albarino, A-L-V, but here this is Albarino with a B. Along with, because in Orosal they do this, they blend a lot, Lurera and Caño Blanco. And it is fleshy fruit, delicious, no oak, just jubilant fruit. It was so good with that honey walnut prawn salad. Why don't you buy a bottle of this and take it over there and remind them that they should have it on the menu? We could use a little lobbying. In the meantime, have it at our wine bar. It's offered by the glass. It's part of our white wine flight. And that is just to remind you that we have a different menu every week. Thank you for all you're doing with us. Thank you for everyone who came to the dinner the other night and everyone who attended Washington State event last night. And thank you in advance to our favorite Rotary Club, who is going to fill this mezzanine with fun. And we were going to fill them with food and wine, and it'll be a good time. And don't forget, please, that I am celebrating the long-awaited arrival of Domaine de Bernardin Baume de Venise, one of my absolute favorite Rhone wines, not because it's big and sappy, but because it's elegant and medium-bodied, meaning I can drink more of it. Thanks again. See you soon.